Hey, how you guys doing? Okay, let's do it. We're gonna do a Hikaru Nakamura game. I promised you guys I would do that before we got into our London system studies of the Chagorian. So night, this is the London system for Nakamura. It's kind of it's a queen's pawn d2, but kind of odd. This is actually 2016, your next move. So this was 2 years ago. Nakamura versus Topalov. Castles. Bishop b3, b6, and then b3. If you notice, hey, how you doing? If you notice that what we have is the potential for bishop to come out, and as well, this prepares for push a4. So knight e3, knight e4, knight e4, bishop f4. And so now Nakamura could always play e3, but you have to be careful that not to get your bishop trapped. So maybe not right away. So knight d7, knight c3, knight takes, and then queen takes. So the knight moved twice, and so Naka, if you want to think about it, got a tempo of 2 moves. So bishop to b7, rook a c1, and rook c8, rook f d1. And so now this rook is on the same file as the queen is. So if these pawns were ever taken away and that was gone, it'd be eyed right on the queen. So h6, h3, so that the king has a spot to go to on h2. Queen to bishop a3, attacking the rook, and rook b1. Potentially we have the ability of trapping the bishop with b3, so a5 is played to prevent that. Queen d3, knight f6, which prepares to maybe implant a knight on e4, or maybe knight to h5. You never know, something like that. So queen c1, bishop c1, bishop goes to c7, and now Nakamura has fianchettoed his bishop on the queen side, because but you're probably thinking, why in the world would you fianchetto where there's a pawn blocking? But remember, once this pawn gets pushed, the dark square bishop has this whole diagonal here for its power. Bishop to a6, rook bc1, rook c7, and queen's retreating back, because we want to have our rook eyeing the queen right through these 2 pawns. Queen b8, and then the knight goes to e5. So they're getting their pieces all positioned properly for the attack. Now rook's doubling up. e3. It's more of a close game now. So queen b7, and Nakamura goes for a huge attack. Let's see. I'm wondering if takes isn't proper here. What happens if you take? Oh, nice. Very sneaky. Very, very sneaky. Gotta like that. a3. B takes. Bishop takes, and then rook takes. Now it's on a square that the light square bishop can't attack, and will double and potentially triple up. A4, knight takes the pawn, queen c6, check, and the rook can't take because, well, I guess it could. It more likely has to take because, so this probably was a blunder here. Well, guys, I actually am a coach. I'm a coach to you guys, so that's the cool thing. I want to coach you guys. So I guess in theory I am a coach. Rook takes c8, and then knight to e8, bishop f1, and now we're going to try to see if we can't get something going, maybe exchange, because Nakamura is actually a whole exchange up here. Queen b7. Alright, there we go. Now potentially something like that. Takes, and g5, pawn g5, bishop, queen c5, pawn g5, queen c5, and this actually is a distractor. This queen can't take because of the rook hangs, so the pawn's protected, and Nakamura most definitely is going to play probably b4 next, and try to get his passed pawn escorted up the board with all of his pieces. That's why the bishop's placed here, is potentially later on maybe it's to help guard the pawn once it gets to b5. If it gets there, this bishop guards it, which frees up the rook and queen. So king to g7, b4. And now this move I really like. I really like that move because the knight wants to come in and kind of outpost itself there. If the knight ever did come in here, the bishop would say, I'll train myself off because I have a passed pawn that I can walk up the board, and you have to stop it. There's nothing really you can do. Your pieces are all awkwardly placed. And I even have potentially this pawn preventing this whole chain from moving. So that's why he moves back and takes, queen takes, and now in comes, look at this. Yes. Go Team Chess Cruncher. And so this the pawn now is protected by the bishop, and if the queen ever tried to like attack it, the bishop can just retreat back to f1, and it's going to be pretty darn tootin' hard for this pawn to be captured because there's really no points for the knight to come to. He'd have to come, let me see here, basically 3 moves. And so check, king moves up. And there's no reason to guard this anymore because there's nothing attacking it. So if this ever gets taken here, the queen takes, and the pawn will go up the board. Knight f takes and checks. There we go. And now the pawn's got a queen. Boom. And so if knight takes, and there's really, this is a lost game for Topalov as black. I really don't know what he could do here, but something like that. then he takes. And if you take, the queen comes in and grabs that. So the queen comes in. That's guarded. So if this, so it takes, we check. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Now we're doing. Oops, I gotta pull this up here for you guys. Sorry. We're gonna be doing the Chicorium versus the London System number 2, game 2. Okay, let's get this all ready to roll. Hold on, let me get a drink of water and then we'll get started. Alright, let's do it. Okay, d4, d5, knight f3, knight f6, and bishop f4. The main line is actually c4, takes, and then d5. This is the main line of the Chicorium. With, if it was just the Chicorium without the London System, in bishop f4 brings the London System into it. It's just one move difference. And the whole idea behind it is this will actually sometimes, if your opponent is thinking of playing the Chicorium against you when you're doing the London, this move right here really throws them off, because they're hoping that you're going to play c4. They're not going to think you're going to play bishop f4. This really will take them off guard, because like what I did is like this line here is the Chicorium line. But if you throw in a small little nuance in the position, like if you put inside of a machine something really small and it jams the machine, it doesn't work the same way. If your opponent doesn't know the sidelines of the Chicorium, like with the London System, you can really take advantage of it. Hey Fox, how you doing? So basically we're just playing they're just playing the Chicorium, some type of variation, and this is more London System like, and so it's kind of a little different because the bishop should be there. That's why it's not a true London yet. And the knight, of course, the knight would be here and the bishop would be back there. So c4 is played. Now we throw in the c4 move, and that totally will throw your opponent off their balance, and they'll be wobbling, thinking, what is this? I didn't study this in Queen's Pawn Chicorium variation. I'm used to the other line, other move on move 3, pawn c4. I play bishop g4, c takes d4, bishop takes f4 or f3, sorry, and then g takes f3 and queen takes d5. That's what they're used to, and they're like, what in the world's this? This is a kind of subline. That's okay. That's cool. Great job, Fox. And so what you have to remember is that this also some players are really good in like the Chicorium variations, and it kind of reminds me of game 2 with Fabi versus Lenderman. Lenderman played the French, and he's like an expert in the French. He is an expert in the French. And Fabi on one of the moves played the 8th move on it. It was h4, and that was somewhere along there. Letterman might not have seen the 8th move. There's probably like 12 moves. I'm not sure how many were down there. Maurice Ashley said that it came down to like 2 games. Only played h4, 2 games. And when somebody plays h4 and it's like you can take a pawn, when a player does that, you have to ask yourself, Why are they playing h4? I'm supposed to be the expert here, and they're playing a move that I haven't seen, and what's the point to it? I thought I was going to be the one that was dictating the whole entire game because I know the opening. And that's kind of what happened. And that threw Lennerman off just enough, like what we're saying. If you do the Chikorium line, but you throw a bishop f4 and then e3 and then c4 into it, that might throw the players who are really good in the Chikorium line off just enough for you to win. All you need is a slight amount of them to be off balance, and then you can push them and they'll fall over. So bishop to d6 is played. There's also a line if knight f6, knight takes c3, bishop e7, h3, bishop takes f3, queen takes, castles. And if you notice that white's pieces are all starting to take scope, they're all looking at black's king saying, you look like you're a little too heavy on the queen side. Let's see if we can't mobilize a heavy attack on the king side. So bishop e2, knight a5, c takes, knight takes, d5, then e takes, and castle king side. This has a lot of play to it because if c6, rook a c1, the idea is to double up rooks and take scope and neutralize black's majority on the queen side. If you can do that, then you can start your bishop, your two bishops and a queen can really wreak havoc down the on the king side. It's like a machine gun person set up, and they're there guarding the position, and you can't get through. So yeah, it's like they're throwing tons of bullets out in the air. It's basically what it feels like when you have a bishop like this. You have a bishop attacking here, a bishop attacking here, and it's like, is there any safe move I can play without walking into a landmine of attack? And then of course you bring a queen in, and it's like, wow, look at that monster attack. You have three pieces just eyeing the king, getting ready for the KO on the king. So bishop d6, rook ac2. This is a exclam move because you don't mind trading off, because now the majority of the pawns are on dark squares, so this is a good bishop. Black's knight's offside, and so you're just gonna take advantage of the weak points potentially here, maybe an eye in there, that pawn on h7. Rook f e8, rook c3. This prepares to protect the bishop. Also, you never know if you want to play you want to get these pawns going like that. You never know. Like b6, rook c1, c2. This guards and also protects along the second rank. It's kind of a different type of move. You maybe later on can fling your pawns up the board and get your rook in the attack as well. It takes three pieces. My teacher taught me to mate a king. Takes three, usually three. So queen, bishop, rook d6, b4, smack. See, that was the drawback to this move, is the queen was blocked to protecting the b4 square. And rook f6 is not the best move, because you can actually play queen to h4, pinning the rook. Also, you're threatening an attack on h4 with the bishop. I mean h7, sorry, with the bishop and queen. So they can have one pawn, but what you're going to do is you're going to pick up two. And at this point, black's whole structure, black is just collapsing. Black's setup is falling apart. It's just, coming down, down. Once dam is breached with a little bit of water, the whole dam goes. Once the queen entered and the king started running, the whole fortress side of the king just went kablooey, and it went down in smoke. So that's why rather than knight f6, he played bishop d6, kind of to trade off this monster of a bishop. Bishop g3. This is usually what the grandmasters play into London, because if you ever exchange it off, you take with the h pawn and you get the open h file. You don't really have to castle. You can always castle queenside in some lines. So just keep that in mind. When you start getting an attack like that, just retreat your bishop back to g3 and say to the dark square bishop, you know what, or to your opponent, take my bishop, let me have my rook, let me have the rook, open file. And of course, if your opponent knows what they're playing, they're just going to develop their knight. Knight c3, and so you guys just develop naturally. C takes, e takes, and then this is a dubious move. The best move is actually bishop to e2. It stops the attack here on f3. So if the bishop did take, you can play bishop takes knight. And even if bishop takes here, he'll play pawn takes, and you'll have some counterplay because you'll have an open rook, and potentially you can bring a queen and rook attack on h7. So you never know. There's just a lot of play, and this is actually a mistake. You play h4 now because this is how it's set up. You're able to potentially trade off, and the pawn structure will be like that. So if bishop takes, g takes, now you don't want to take with your bishop. Remember, your bishop, we want to play bishop to d3 and rook to g1 with a potential winning. So if we can get to rook g1, we can actually pick this knight off without any worries of capture because the pawn's pinned against the king. But he played a little too soon bishop h4. So bishop e7, bishop takes, and then bishop to e2. They're saying that a mistake would have been, he says that he's kind of a little upset with himself. This is what he saw. He says he's glad he didn't play it. He looked at this line, he says, I'm so glad I didn't play it because this is what would have happened. He says his position would have fallen apart, and then black's the one with the dominating position because he has a threat of mate here. What really can white do? So he just played bishop to e2 and decided not to get greedy with trying to win a pawn. So knight e7 with an exclam, because what black sees is that he's going to have to get his pieces over to the king side because a huge attack's mounting, and black needs to be able to stop whatever is going to come down on him like an avalanche. So castle kingside, c3, queen to c2. This is a really interesting move. It kind of gives the queen it gives her a little bit of power. I like this move because it allows for a couple ideas to come to pass. Potentially you can play a rook d1 and then open up the position with e4. That's an interesting idea. Bishop d3. If he goes h6, you then can go e4. If he takes, you then can take with the knight. and you're attacking this bishop. So there's a lot of play with queen c2. Knight f5, a little too optimistic. This is dubious here, but it's potentially, because remember what we talked about? He took the knight without even provoking h3. You have to remember, don't just take a piece, have them attack you or something. This did not create any weaknesses by taking the knight. So a5, a3, knight c8, which is an exclam, because now the knight could go to these 2 points whenever the knight wants to. You can play b5 and go knight d6, and potentially into c4, with some scope of an attack. b4 to take advantage of that. A takes B, so that white's not even giving black an opportunity to implement the knights coming to these 2 points and potentially infiltrating in there. Rook takes, and then b5. Really good move. That in my opinion, it got an exclam, and I agree that it's an exclam idea, because this allows for the queen to go to d5 or d6, knight to b6, and then knight to c4. Black's now the one with all the counterplay. So e2, knight e2, queen d6 to eye the pawn, and then this right here though, a little too, in my opinion, that's a little too soon. The queen goes to c5. Exclam! I totally agree with that. That really was that stopped black's counterplay. I think he should have played, in my opinion, this move here to, if the queen wants to come in, that's fine. We just trap her, and then go bishop to e7, and say, really, you wanna do that? If she takes, I guess you got to be careful that you don't take. Yeah, I kind of see why she has to play now. I now see why she has to play here. Yeah, I guess that is an exclam. I'm trying to see what potentially, maybe. Well, I guess that is the best now that I think about it, kind of. Yeah, but they're saying besides knight to f5, which is a mistake, the best move is a5 to prepare b5, rook e8 to get the position active with your rooks. These two right here were the best moves, a5 and rook to e8. But he played the mistake of c5, bishop d3, which now this is under fire and we can win. So g6. If bishop takes, we play takes here, and this bishop would have to run away. And when it runs, we take a pawn with check. That's what he said is the potential idea. So we gotta we'll delete that. This is what it had. So what happens is g6 and then h3, which is a mistake. e5, which is actually the best move, because if you play e takes e5, pawn takes e5, knight g2 g7, e4 exclam, c takes d takes e4, knight takes, queen d4, and then knight comes in with check, and then rook a to e1, and this holds. This right here is the worst position. If black was to play d4, which looks more natural, knight to a4 is an exclam, because he is now stopping the pawn from coming in, and then he has an outpost. He's also holding his pawns, so really interesting move. F6, e takes f6, queen takes f6, and then f4, and that uses white's using his majority on the king side attack versus the minority attack. This is the king side here, so white has 4 and black only has 2. So 2 versus 4, I think 4 wins. But he plays, instead of that, h3, bishop takes, and this is a mistake. He should have actually been calm, black should have, and played g takes f, and then f4, which undermines the structure of black, or white, because white would have to take, and then he would have 3 isolated pawns. Because he can't push onward because the bishop would take. So that's why that gets an exclam move, f4. But got a little too greedy there and took here. King takes g takes f5, queen takes f5. You're attacking the queen, potentially going rook to g1, and then king to h2, discover check, and with some mating ideas. King h8, rook g1, queen e7, king h2. Now this is a domination of the open file. There's only one full open file. There's one half open file and one full open file. So queen to rook g8, rook g4, g6, rook g6, a to g1, rook a g8. So now there's a lot of contesting of this open file. There's white has 2 rooks and a bishop, a queen, and black has 2 rooks, and these pawns protecting his rooks, so it's kind of no man's land at this moment. Knight to e2, rook g5, and then we get an exclam knight f4. This is a great move because you're preparing to, if he takes here, of course you guys see later you get mate, so he can't take the queen, because if he does, you get checkmated. So rook takes, h takes, and then h6 to prevent a lot of attacks. So king g3. Let me see if I have all this right. King g3. Hold on, I just want to make sure I have this correct. So far, so good. Yep. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss any exclams. Oh, you did. Sweet. Good job. So h4, king moves to g3, and bishop f4, knight d3, king g7, knight to f4, with an idea of a fork and winning a piece. So the king has to move back to g8, and okay, knight h5, bishop g, b3. This kind of passes the move to black, to say, black, what you gonna play? And then h4, queen h4 is a dubious move. Doesn't really have any play. There's also a kind of worse move. Knight, queen c3 is a mistake because then you have check. King goes to h2, queen takes, and you've won there. So And oops, hold on, what did I miss here? Hold on, I'm sorry guys, hold on. So here, then this is another line. Bishop to, if the bishop comes back, you're probably wondering what happens there. Queen takes, rook takes a2, bishop take, queen takes on both those, not rook. Knight f6 check, knight d3, d7, attacks the bishop, and prepares to go to e5 with a mating threat, or a potential mating threat to come to pass. So b1 and knight e5. Now we're threatening f7. Check, and king g3, and you're good to go. So what they're saying is best move, queen to e6. Knight takes, bishop exclams, so those both get exclams. And then queen takes on e6, exclam. F takes e6, king f. We're trying to get black into a Zugzwang position where when black moves, we infiltrate in. Now you get to see the power of problem with pawn islands. When you have a lot of pawn islands, you get to see the weakness of it. So f6, b4. This kind of locks the position down here. We're locking this down because if he pushes here, we take. If he pushes here, we take. So this pawn's locking 3 pawns down. 1 pawn is. So b6, e4. We're trying to destroy this, get this open, and get our 2 pawns, or f pawn, going up the board as well. a2, b takes a, c takes, and then a4. We've almost have black in a Zugzwang position. Almost. King g5, f3, king f6, king f4. We're so close. King f7, king e5, king e7, and now we have it. Now the Zugzwang has been played. Whatever move he moves, he loses. If he moves here, we infiltrate in. If he moves here, we infiltrate in. If he moves back to any of these points, we take the pawn. So there's no way he can't play here, we take. If he plays here, we take. If he plays here, we take. So any move he moves loses. So he plays queen to h4, queen check on h8, king h7, bishop takes, queen takes, b7, rook, not rook, queen at h1 check, king e2, and queen to e4. And at this point, queen d7, and there's really nothing that white can, black can do. He could check, I guess, and then you can just move, and then you can come in. But I don't really see anything best. So that's kind of this setup here, and this is what it says. And white it says that white had several advantages here. White had an advantage in the endgame. He had central. His king was more centralized. 1 second. Yeah, his king was more centralized, and let's see here. Yeah, at this point here, I'm going to pull it back to what we were talking about right here. I'm going to pull it back to this, and this is what he said in the king. The king has better pawns. White does. A centralized king, that's positive. Black's pawn structure is wrecked because of these two. These pawns are just devastated. And white has a positive center expansion potentially with if the king moves f3 and then e4, that would help with central advance, and those are the advantages that the king had on move 30. But in this, he said that the end of the line goes, this is the summary, then we'll move on to puzzles, or if you guys have games you'd like to go over, we'll go over those too. This way said, it may be best for white to have played c4, so it might be best for white to play c4 back here, maybe to throw off your opponent, and then potentially after he gets to this move here, you could take, which throws off your opponent a little bit. You get a Queen's Gambit. It's not a Queen's Gambit decline, because then you would have c6. So this is kind of what he's saying. This is what, if you want to kind of play the Chagorium, this is it. But if you want to throw your opponent off, this is kind of the setup you want to play. So that's just an idea for you guys to do, and that's the setup. So you gotta be careful and how you play the London system versus the Chagorium. And so now we'll get into our puzzles. Since we went over Nakamura's game and our London system, we'll do some puzzles. Or if you guys have any games you want to go over, we can do that too. Just one sec, gotta get a drink of water. I'll pull up a thing just in case you guys have one. Okie dokie, let's see, what do we got here? So we had queen to b6 check, king b8. We're in kind of a pickle here, because the queen wants to come here, and then we'd have to come here, and we'd take, knight takes, queen takes, and I think we'd lose. So we're one move away from a problem. So we really don't have enough time to take this knight. Kind of thinking maybe we have a knight to f3. Knight f3 is an interesting idea, because we still maintain the idea of an attack on this knight. Also, it gives our king a flight square. So this knight guards the e2, e1 square for the queen, and the knight would have to move. If the knight moves, we win the knight. So I'm thinking knight f3. What do you guys think? Excuse me, knight f3. I like knight f3. And I'm going to just propose this out there too, really quick. We have a team, if you guys want to join it. It's called Team Chess Cruncher. And I'm working on so that you guys could access our studies. So I'm in progress of getting that with our team setup. So you got to bear with me on that. But if you guys want to join, we're called Team, capital T, Team, capital C Chess, and capital C Cruncher, and they're separate if you want to join. You can look us up. Okay. Let's give it a shot. Oh, you're kidding me. Don't tell me. Interesting. Why doesn't this work here though? Okay, the king moves. Okay, the king moves and we don't have anything at that point. Alright. So this is the only way to put some pressure. So the queen has to move, and therefore we win a piece. Okay, I gotta remember that. Or if the queen takes, even worse, mate in one. Okay. Well, let's see here. We'll do one puzzle. Get this puzzle under our belt. Yeah, I really thought that was going to work, but I should have known that you have to attack something to get the action going. I didn't see that. That really will help me later on in my play. And I hope it helps you guys too as well. That's the whole point of learning. Let's see here. I'm thinking rook takes, rook takes, rook takes. King takes, and then it comes over with check. Or sorry, king takes. We just flee. So I'm thinking it's kind of a forced rook takes. What do you guys think? Yeah, but that's what makes it fun. So that yeah. They're funny. Rook takes c6. Rook takes c6. This is the line that I'm thinking. King takes c6, and if queen c1 c8 check, our king goes to b5, and I think we're okay there. I think we're okay with that line. What do you think, guys? Let's give it a go, because we've calculated it. Oh, queen takes? Why not? What am I missing? Why not king takes? Let's see. Oh, okay, he picks up a pawn. I missed that. So queen takes, and if takes here, we can't play here because he's got a check there. That's kind of what I was a little concerned about. empty, so just retreat back there. Okay. That seemed okay, but I have to remember to check each take next time and make sure the move works. I'll have to analyze that again. Snap. Let's see. Let's get some positive here. So we have a trying to see, because he's forking our bishop, our rook and queen. Oh, you every night. Let's see here. Trying to figure out, because if we take the queen right now, he'll take our queen. That if we try to retreat our knight out the same way, he'll retreat his knight out, attacking our rook. So I'm trying to see if there's any okay, we'll take a look at a game. Oh, Nile versus Gary. Whoa, this must be a long time ago. Wow. Okay, well, look at it from Nile's point of the board. Okay. F6, okay. Gary's stopping all of Nile's threats, because if he tries taking here, Nile has E4. Then when he retreats back, he can just take there. And Nile has more development than Gary. That's kind of why, or sorry, Gary has more development than Nile. Sorry, other way around. So that's why E6 was played. Also, it allows the bishop to come out. So, and there's really no way at this moment you can allow that because of there as well. So E6 is the only way you're going to be able to get the pawn out. I mean the bishop out. There we go. Knight develops and Nile is going to castle. Queen b4 or b3, a5, a3, and then takes, b takes, and knight d7. This allows, if takes here, potentially we could take here, and then if he takes there, we then could play here if he takes here. And a little different, a little awkward for sure. And so this knight's actually, you would have to take there, and something similar to that would arise. So they're kind of, Gary doesn't want to really trade off. Potentially f6. Well, he doesn't really want to take the c pawn on if he doesn't have to, yeah. Yeah. Excuse me, one second, I need a drink. Much better, thank you. So bishop to f7 with the idea of taking, and if knight takes, we can play e. So I'll show you. If let's say he plays something like this, then if he takes, you have this. With it, you lose the knight. And if he plays there, first you take back, and if you try attacking, you can just retreat your knight in here. Still, this pin is a pain, and really there's nothing you could do. So that's kind of why that bishop was played there. That holds the pawn, and now the queen's out of the pin, so should be interesting to see how Nile uses this bishop, because now it's a little awkwardly placed. b5, very positional. C takes b, takes, and then the queen comes in. Now Nile can actually double attack with f to c8. Queen b4, knight attacks the bishop, so I mean the rook has to come back. Knight comes back, and Nile probably would be okay with a perpet if he was to get it because he's black. Alright, now Nile's bringing in the reinforcements. Rook b. And maybe we can double up here and see if we can't take advantage of three pieces attacking c3. And even if knight takes here, you could play there and say, and he'd have to give way there, and you bring in the rook. And so you should have a pretty good attack. And if rook takes, of course, you don't want that to happen, because then this allows again this to come to pass, and you don't want to ever have a rook anchored in your position like that. That is not a fun piece to have there. F5. So he's locking down. Smart move on Niall's part. What is the... I just want to check one thing to see what the computer says about this. Just really quick. I want to see if it likes takes. Okay, so it does like takes. Oh, it does like H7, huh? Alright, go figure. I didn't think that. Why doesn't he just take? True, I see what you're saying. True. That is right. Check. So he's holding everything together. Excuse me. Queen comes in. You're winning a pawn. Bishop takes. Rook takes. And surprisingly, yeah. Well, kinda, yeah. I don't remember the name of it, but he did. I remember he walked a king all the way over, like something like this. Yeah. Or the other way around, and he got it to like here, and he mated with a pawn. Yeah. So that holds the position there. I don't think there's any way for... And he gets a mate in 5. That was a good game. Yeah. One more game? Okay. Let's take a look. Oh. Who's she facing? Or who's the computer facing? Sorry. Wow. So B6. Castles. Knight BD7. Interesting. So, white's kind of got black in a bind, a cramped position. E3. So, if white can hold the center, white has domination of the game. C5, D4, or D5, sorry, D5. And then if he plays here, we can just take 1 second. Knight G4, which then would try to take the bishop. So the bishop's just going to retreat back. We don't want to give up our good bishop. Don't give up the good bishop if you don't have to. The knight comes in. I don't think. Well, I guess you could do this. I don't know if you accomplished much with that though. I think you just provoke more weaknesses. Maybe a knight bishop move and bring the knight over. Cementing the structure. F4, there we go. There's the game. That's what we like. G4, boom. You gotta like that type of stuff. King H1 to get out of the attack. And then A4, it's like, boy, white is totally cramping black's style. Bishop to B7, Rook G1. Now everything's cemented together, so white's holding everything. Bishop's coming back. Oh, nice. Knight F5. Loving it. I'm loving it. Wow, look at this monster pawn chain. Look at this. Boom, man. You can play Bishop D3 and then win a piece back. Oh, the knight. Snap. Sad. If only the knight wouldn't move. Let's say the bishop moves here. And then we'll just say the queen moves. You have this right here. And now you're threatening mate. Yeah. We only talk chess in here, okay? That's the whole thing, chess. So we gotta keep that in mind. Look, AG1. Yeah, we don't really want any of that in our chat. Sorry about that, guys. Should have taken care of that sooner. Okay, there we go. So, and knight e4, knight a2. It's too bad we couldn't somehow trap this. And this knight is so trappy. It's just so tempting to try to get this knight, but he's got the knight's got a spot to go back to. It's like, ugh. Bishop g4, rook e8. Whoa, that is pretty good. H takes G, H takes G. Oh, ouch. Nobody likes when you get a fork like that. But you just take. The knight comes back. Man, I would not want to be black here. No, no, no. And then now, just cement your position with F5 and go, wow. This is a game between, what's her name? Oh, Lisan, Lisas, or versus, I don't know how to pronounce, or Leela, versus, I don't know how to pronounce this one computer. It's two computers. It's this computer as white, and then this computer as black. And so it's like, it's a 3200 as black, and I don't know what, and I don't know what the self-learning computer is. Okay, so let's get back. Queen d7, bishop h6. Whoa, what in the world? Yeah, exactly. Oh, a normal engine. Oh, wow. So a normal engine is, oh, wow, wow, wow. That's interesting. So why would the computer put its queen there? Whoa. Nah, no thank you. Chess is our game, right, guys? Why don't you just take, though? I'm just wondering. What happens if you take here? So it's still mate. I don't know. What can white play though? What's the only move black could play? Oh, he takes. Crazy. That's cool. That's a cool mate. That's a cool mate. There. I saw the pawn move. I didn't get to see that. That's cool. You gotta love that for sure. Oh, the Arabian mates. You gotta love that as well. I don't know if does this move work still this here. Does this hold on? Like when he plays here, does this actually still mate? Yeah, still mates. There's like so many different mates. Hey, it liked my idea. Cool. It liked that idea. That's sweet. Loving it. Hey, we did it, guys. It liked our idea. Nice. Okay, we'll do one more puzzle. And then I gotta log off. We'll finish this one here. Let's end on a green. You could have made it, I think, a move sooner. Yeah. But you didn't have to take. But, you know. Remember, it's all about checkmate. That's the whole game of. That's what it's about in chess. Checkmate. Not how much material. Not how many pieces you have. Because Morphy proved that in the orchestra game against the Count and I forgot which. I think it's the Earl or something like that. Forgot the name of the other one. There was like two that he played. He traded off a queen. He got down to a bishop and rook, and he still made it. So it wasn't about piece material. It's all about checkmate. And if Morphy was still alive, he would tell you the same thing as well. Let's see here. This is like puzzling here. Because I don't know if we could actually take. If we take, he takes. Ah, come on. No, get out of there. What that? What was that? Sorry about that, guys. What in the world? Okay, good. Whew. Thought my computer had a sitch there for a second. We move first, but what do we accomplish in that scenario, though? I'll let you guys think about this. I'll be right back. So you're saying queen to queen f3. And then if he plays queen to e8, queen e8, we have rook to e4, and oh, knight e4. Okay, I kind of saw that he could win our knight. Yeah, yeah. So let's take a gander at this. So that'd be check. Yeah. King comes over. Interesting. Yeah, I like that. So we know that he takes. So now we have to come down to do we actually play knight takes d d8? Okay. Do you guys have any other ideas before I log off for the night, guys? Any more stuff on here that you want to look at? Oh yeah, we were gonna look to see what would happen if queen e. Okay, here, king comes over. Yeah. And then there we go. This is kind of what I was looking at. And if he plays here, we take and we win. There's also one if we play here, what happens too. We take, and we retreat there. We protect the knight. So if knight takes, and then now we're at, now we're attacking here. Okay. Yeah, now we're attacking there. So that's one line. And then if we play knight back, we just take, and then we move, and we're up a whole piece. Then we take there, he takes, so we got that line taken care of. So the bishop is actually, they're saying best. So queen here, queen takes, we win the knight, then he takes the pawn, and we guard, and potentially we have an attack with here and there. And so the only way to hold is rook here to hold that pawn. Okay, got it. Do you have any other moves you want to look at? Let's see, queen, knight, okay, king f8, okay, there, okay. I don't really see any other ones that you're looking at. Queen b6. Hold on, let me see. Okay, we were thinking about. Okay. So queen b6 is an idea that. Okay, you're good. Okay. Well then, I'm going to log off, and I want to thank you all for logging on. And during with tonight we had 2 out of 4, so we're 50% on our puzzles. So you know what, some days a diamond, some days a coal, as we say, or a stone. But like, I wanted to say that, you know what, we have to remember a quote that I have a poster, and I have this quote from Bruce Lee. He has 2 things that I sometimes, when I'm like, oh, what do I need to do? He says, knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. So it's not enough to know, because you can know tons and tons of different lines, but you need to apply it on the board. You can be well known in certain openings, but if you don't know how to apply it, then it's not good for you. It's like all this knowledge but no application. And you may be willing to do it, and you know what, it's not enough. We must do. So you have to have knowing and willing. You have to be able to, when you know it, to apply it, and when you're willing, you have to be able to do it. So remember that you, like, when those things come up and you're like, what do I do on the chessboard? I know enough, and I'm going to apply what I know. And you're like, but do I play this? Am I willing to play this move? Yes. And then what you say is, willing is not enough. Willing is not enough. You have to know, and we must do. So remember that. I like those 2 phrases that Bruce Lee talked about. That you need to be able to know and apply, and you have to be willing to do. So I just want to leave you guys with that. And like Cannibal Smith said, he also probably read a little bit of Bruce Lee too, by saying that a plan's only good when you can know what your opponent's going to do, predict it, and then have a plan based around that prediction. That's a plan. Or the Grandmasters would say, they are asked, how many moves do you see ahead? 1. That's what Bobby said. And all the Grandmasters, and it's always the right one. Remember, when losing is learning. So sometimes when you lose, don't ever think of it as a loss, or don't ever think of mistakes as something that's bad. That's a way to learn. Mistakes are never wrong. They may be, people may say that don't make a mistake, but that's how we learn, is by our mistakes. Like Edison, he had a multitude of mistakes on making the light bulb, and they asked him, what was it like when you made all those mistakes? What did you learn from it? He says, I learned every way not to make the light bulb, but when I found out how to make the light bulb, I was able to make the light bulb. I'm not pronouncing it the best, but you guys get the drift, that he knew all of those amounts to what worked, what didn't work, and then he applied all the mistakes, and he found the light bulb. Same thing with rubber. When we found rubber used to come from like a sap of a tree, but during the war times they didn't have rubber for other stuff to be made. It had to go for the military during the war. So they tried to find a mixture of like an amalgam to make rubber, and this one person, I forgot his name, he was working, he couldn't find it. All of a sudden he tipped a couple things over, and this bubbling happened, and it was like, and then he took it out, and it was rubber. And so he when he found what it took to do it, he actually made like everything rubber. He made a rubber coat, rubber shoes, rubber pants, everything. They called him the Rubber Man. It was funny. It was that I just want to share some of the stuff that I've been reading, and it helps me with when I make when I make mistakes in games. I reflect back on all those great minds that the light bulb, Edison, and the person who made rubber through an amalgam. That always helps me. So I wanted to leave you with that. I'll leave you with this thought as well. As Wesley So says, serve the Lord Jesus. And as I say, God bless. And I'll see you next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, and evening. And I'll be back on, Lord willing, tomorrow night, as this somewhere around this time, guys. And if you want to join our team on alliedchess.org, it's called Team Chess Cruncher, so more than happy for you guys to join. And so be blessed, and I'll see you tomorrow, guys. Keep studying chess. Bye-bye, guys.